Just begin by adjusting your postures. And also, it's worth remembering every time you sit down or lie down to a practice, don't get too fixated on the posture. Because for many people, and I was one of those, I used to associate meditation with sitting in a particular posture, in a particular type of room, in a particular environment. But then, as I moved through life and came across different teachers, many of the teachers began reminding me that it's really the awareness that is so much more important and a part of the practice. And so you can be hunched, you can be lying down, you can be in whatever posture you want. And so inclusive, that includes everyone, that includes people with disabilities who do not have the ability to sit and adopt certain postures. And once you begin understanding that it is awareness that is the core central part of this practice, you remain in practice when you eat. You remain in practice when you speak, when you talk, when you listen. When you watch TV, you watch in awareness. When you watch movies, the theater, you watch in awareness. When you listen to the music that you love, and on, when you exercise, when you walk, when you look at the art hanging on your walls or the sculptures, whether in a gallery or at home, you observe in awareness. And one thing you'll begin to realize and recognize is that awareness, it happens in the present moment. And so every time you taste a food, you're tasting it for the first time. Every time you sit down or into a formal practice like this, you're sitting for the first time, open to whatever unfolds before you. Awareness, awareness, awareness. And I'm going to ring the bell now. And the bell is here to help us arrive a little bit more into this present moment. And we start with that easiest part, the part that we are certain is indeed in the present moment, and that is our bodies. Our bodies are here in this present moment. Gently become a little bit more aware. Through the points of contact between your body and the surfaces underneath it. The way in which your body interacts with your clothing. The temperature of the room that you're in as experienced through those exposed areas of skin around your body. The face, the ears, the neck, the back of the hands. The next bell, with the next bell, if you can find parts of your body that are tense, tight, trying to hold on to this posture, release them. Just surrender your bodies over to gravity. Turn your posture into one of balance. So if you're sitting upright, let the structure of your body do more of the work. And there's no work at all, it's more balance. For me, it's my spinal column, which is pretty much balancing my whole upper body upon my pelvic bone. I can let go of my shoulders. I can let go of the muscles around my scalp and my ears. I can relax most of the muscles around my neck and yet still remain quite comfortably balanced in this posture. As you surrender your body to the forces of gravity, those points of contact between your body and the chair underneath you or the cushions, those points of contact between your feet and your legs and the flooring or the carpet underneath you become so much more vivid. Because these are the points that seem to somehow balance your body on this surface underneath. And irrespective of how much you've been moving around earlier on this morning, irrespective of how active a physical life you have, can you acknowledge that your body has arrived in front of this computer, on top of this chair, in this room at this particular moment? This moment where you are either breathing in or out. You see, the body is the easiest part, which we know for certain is here in this moment called the present moment. And then in this practice, you recognize different layers, different parts to ourselves. And the next part we're going to pay attention to is the mind. Imagine you had a torchlight, and because you've centered yourself in the present moment, it is from this present moment that you shine this torch. And from the present moment, shine the torch on the mind and watch it. Watch the way in which it moves through time, especially if you're thinking about the past or the future. How the mind moves through time especially if there is something about the present moment that you may be complaining about, too warm, or something about your posture, or something about a sound around you that might be distracting or disturbing. It's usually, if there is anything that we complain about, where there is a complaint, it means there is a comparison. This against that. This, the sound or the sensation or whatever it is that you find disturbing, is being measured against that. Some something from some standard from the past or the future, and we want to change the present moment. We resist the present moment. We fight against the present moment. But there's another word for this practice: allowing. Allowing the present moment. Here's a bell to help us enter into this deeper state of allowing. If it's a sound that's disturbing you, allow that particular sound to intermingle with the sound from this bell, and then welcome it into your bodies and through your bodies. If it's the mind that is disturbing you, and this usually happens because of the definitions we have for meditation, because of all the books we've read, the experiences that our teachers describe of stillness, of peace, of pure love, of kindness, because of the images we see, the serene looking Buddha, or the loving Christ, or whoever it is your teacher is. If your mind is turbulent, you may suddenly believe that I'm failing in the practice. And you begin to fight against your thoughts, push against them, resist them. But just as we were learning how to allow sounds, the sound of this present moment, just as we were reminding ourselves how to allow sensations, physical sensations, here's a bell where we give the mind permission to move. We give the mind permission to think. If it's thinking about a conversation from the past, a conversation with maybe a stranger or maybe someone who you cared about a lot, don't go into, don't feel the need to go into the nitty-gritty facts of the conversation, but simply label it as thinking. Thinking. I'm thinking. Doesn't matter what I'm thinking about, but I'm aware. I'm aware that I am thinking. It looks like the past. And of course, if it's about your busy timetable for the rest of this week or later on today, I'm thinking, and you're aware that you're thinking about the future. But all of this awareness happens in the present moment. You are aware of this thinking process from this center called the present moment. Truly give your mind permission to think. Sometimes in our lives, people around us, especially those whom we are very close to, may say things that take us out of our comfort zones, that may be hurtful. And the mind will react. The mind will bring about hurtful memories but this is the moment where we practice allowing. I ring the bell. Just as you are allowing your thoughts to move, you will allow through your awareness to observe the hurt, observe the other emotions that may arise, anger, disappointment, whatever it is. But throughout, in the practice of allowing, there is space. There is space between that who you truly are, this witness, this kindness, this awareness, this consciousness, and the hurt, and the anger, and the pain, and whatever it is. So you're not suppressing it, you're not blocking it, you're not scolding yourself about it, which often happens with those of us who consider ourselves to be spiritual. We tell ourselves, I should know better. I should not be allowed to feel hurt, to feel anger, because that's not spiritual. But for a brief moment, practice allowing and experience the space that surrounds every thought and its resulting emotion. And as you rest in this space of awareness, there is a gap, a timeless gap that appears, that occurs, because you're in the present moment. It's almost as though time stands still. And in this stillness, you find the ability to no longer react. React, yes, but not immediately, not in anger, not in hatred, not in vengeance, not in despondency, but in the space of stillness, perhaps physically, maybe using louder words, more clear words, but words that are pure, free of the filters of anger and frustration and all of the baggage that we've carried forward from our schooling life and our childhoods and all of that. Such are the gifts of awareness. Where is your mind? Many of the teachers, they remind us that the mind is always there, but treat it as a tool. No different from a tool, a screwdriver, a pair of scissors, a hammer, a tool to be used to decipher and translate the only moment that you exist, the present moment. And have you noticed that's what this guided meditation has been about? You were translating sensations around your body of temperature, of room temperatures. That's irrelevant to your present moment. Of the fabric of your clothing, of your skin, of different parts of the body, of the seat, the carpeting, the flooring underneath you. And in the present moment, this may sometimes sound oversimplistic, but teachers describe the present moment as the space within which all of wisdom lies, the solution to every obstacle and problem we have ever encountered, we are going through, and we will ever go through. Just like those great scientists or songwriters, if you read about their stories, if you learn about the stories through which they arrived at their theories or their best selling pieces of music, it might have been in the shower, during a walk in nature, or some moment where they were simply being present in a bathtub, under an apple tree, when an apple drops on a head, just being. Have you noticed we've explored two parts to ourselves? This body, which is here in the present moment, but constantly changing, constantly changing. Since we began this practice, many cells have disappeared. Many cells that make up our bodies have disappeared and died. New cells have emerged. And then we have explored the mind, we have observed, we have witnessed, we have watched the mind, but through space, through the space of allowing, through awareness, through the lens of the present moment, through the lens of kindness and wisdom. And now we explore that third part to us, that largest part to us, that infinite part to us, that which I have referred to, that which our teachers refer to as beingness, as presence, as awareness, as consciousness. But the first step in exploring this space of awareness is to truly release any idea or belief that you may have about it or of it. It's almost called a process of emptying one's self. And what better way to empty one's self than to be here now? Invite your mind once again to join you in the present moment. This time, invite the mind to explore your breath. The direction and the movement of the air as you breathe in and out. Of temperatures, of humidity levels. And one thing, as you practice, you will begin to realize that the mind can think of only one thing at a time. It may jump a lot. Future, past, present, future, past, present, future. But the practice is to guide and train the mind to be more present, more consistently. And let the director within you direct the mind to the nostrils, the nasal passage. And as you feel the warm air moving down and out through your nasal passage, that's all you experience. As you take in the next breath, which is cooler and crisper, that's all the mind is focused on. And all of the definitions, all of the labels, all of the meanings, they simply begin to fade away. And a very nice way in which to understand this space of awareness that often goes unnoticed, is by using a metaphor which we have used many times before, but with the next bell, invoke the beginner's mind. Enter into this practice as the young, innocent child you once were. Seeing with your mind's eye, clouds, clouds in the sky. And find yourself trapped inside one of these clouds. That's often what anxiety and worry and anger and frustration feels like. Being completely immersed and identified with the mind, which is represented by all of these clouds of different sizes, different shades, different colors. Some of them are white and fluffy and playful. They take the shapes of animals that we like and cartoon characters. And some of them dark and gray with thunder and lightning, flashes of lightning coming out of them. But what is the quality you notice about these clouds? They move. They constantly move. They constantly change. I think most of us arrive in this practice because we've discovered there is a way to stop moving with the clouds. We no longer need to identify with the clouds. We no longer need to identify ourselves as the clouds. And as you breathe deeper, as you breathe out slowly and gently, as the sensations become more and more vivid, they lead you into the present moment. And as you find yourself in the present moment, have you noticed the present moment is always the present moment? You stop moving with the clouds. Take a deep breath now. And watch as the clouds move around you. And you smile, a knowing smile, perhaps even a smile of relief that whatever it is you're going through is passing. You don't have to move along with it. And soon the clouds, even if it was a dark gray cloud with lightning and thunder echoing through it, the sounds and the flashes become more distant as the clouds move, and soon the clouds begin to thin. It becomes so much lighter until you find yourself in the gap. But if you were to look behind you, there are more clouds. But it's this gap, just knowing that this gap, this space is here. There is sunshine illuminating you, bathing your forehead in your spinal column and your whole body. Feel that warmth penetrating through your skin. Because irrespective of the movement within the clouds and around the clouds, You're in the present moment, the eternal present moment. Even if it's a glimpse, you may stay here, sitting, breathing, and then the clouds, they begin to envelop you once again, but you have experienced the present moment. You have experienced the gap, the space, and now the practice begins to sit, to breathe, to be present, and to allow the clouds to move, to allow the thoughts to move. But time passes. Time passes, and you experience the gaps and the clouds and the storms. And then you reach a meditation room such as this virtual meditation room. And then you realize that there is another way. I can rise above the clouds so that the space, I remain more consistently within this space of awareness. With the next bell, take a deep breath. But this time, let this breath be a bridge, almost like a ladder that helps you rise above the clouds. Breathe in deeply now. Enter into that space above the clouds where there is only sunshine and warmth. Having a completely different perspective on the clouds. Even the gray and stormy clouds, they look so different from above when you no longer need to go through them. There is so much more space between you, the witness, and the cloud, the thought. And as you reside, as you ground yourself in this space, the light begins to fade. The night time emerges. And soon you discover that this space is infinite. It is the very space around the moon. You become that very space that surrounds that ball of fire we refer to as the sun. You are the space around it, where the clouds have shrunk, almost invisible. You have become the space between our sun and every other star in the universe. A universe that continues to expand, which is why we step outside of the mind. Because whatever the mind conceives and defines consciousness and awareness to be, we know for certain it is not that. For it is beyond the mind, beyond the comprehension of the five senses. Yet we use our five senses to tap into the present moment, to aid us in this practice. Once you feel a little bit more comfortable in this space, a little bit more certain, it's an experience, a little bit more certain that you're beyond the clouds. You're so much more than the clouds. You remind yourself that this practice is simply one in which we're developing a new relationship with our mind. And it's one where we experience the mind from this space, which, even though the mind seems to tell us is a boring place, our teachers, this is where we have to rely on our teachers. They refer to it as a space of kindness. They refer to it as that space of wisdom. Let's explore this a little bit more, shall we? Why our teachers would refer to it in this way. For that, we return back to those gaps in between the clouds. Not the clouds. We don't want to move smack into the middle of the clouds, but just the gaps. We want to make our way underneath the clouds, back into Earth's atmosphere. And underneath the clouds, we see this planet. We see the continents and the seas and the oceans. Now take a deep breath. A breath that reminds you who you truly are. This space in between the clouds, that infinite space above the clouds, this space underneath the clouds. Experience the way in which you blanket, almost hugging and holding the planet. Gently covering the highest peaks, all the way down to the deepest valleys and the vast spaces of oceans and seas and lakes and rivers. You are this space. The space in between the blades of grass. The space in between the leaves on the branches and the trees. the space in between your fingers, the space that surrounds your form, your bodies, and every other form on this planet. But that's not all. Experience the way in which this space that you now are, that you have always been, participates in the respiratory processes of every living thing on this planet, whether plant life, animal life, human life, all breathing in this space. Does this space judge one body or one form is more worthy of its attention than the next? Does it distinguish between gender, sexuality, ethnicity, belief system, economic status, award status, age? No, it does not. It just is. It gives equally. It is within every form. From the Nobel Peace Prize winners to those living in cardboard boxes underneath bridges. It does not distinguish, it does not discriminate. It gives itself equally and freely to all, nourishing the lungs and the tissue and the cells. It does not distinguish between one life form to the other, nourishing the blade of grass and the leaf equally. It is the very same ingredients within this space that makes its way into the seas and the rivers and the oceans, into the dolphins and the whales and the fish and the salmon. When I ring the next bell, just for a brief moment, experience your true self. No longer needing to even decide who is worthy of your services. The word allowing resurfaces. Allowing yourself to be who you truly are. And as we move through the veins of all living beings, of whatever it is the mechanism within those forms are that carries this space, as we move through the chlorophyll and all else within the plant world, let us release an intention that there be peace and harmony within the cells that make up this multitude of forms. That where there is imbalance, let there be balance. Where there is darkness, let there be light. Where there is ignorance, let there be wisdom. Where there is death, let there be immortality. Now the same way in which we have lent our attention to this space, this awareness, let us now bring and share our awareness with the silence in between the sounds. That silence behind every sound that allows the sounds to emerge and be heard. We're just going to use the bell now. You can bring back whichever part of today's practice that you found most helpful. The key being to simply be here now. And the purpose for this is really to simply be in the experience. Not try to remember, not try to recall or recreate, but just experience. Because with experience, it becomes a part of you forever. But you don't have to worry about forever, because the present moment is forever. And now the final bell, only because it marks the end of our formal practice together. But switch to awareness. Switch to awareness. Shortly after the final bell, we will be saying our goodbyes and we'll see you next week and all of that. But let the awareness remain. Because later on, there will be food, there will be laughter, there will be phone calls, the internet, shopping. Let the awareness remain. Occasionally forgetting, getting caught up in the mind, but quite easily gravitating back, not moving back, not forcing, but simply returning back home to the present moment, to awareness. From this breath to this breath, from this moment to this moment. My heartfelt thanks to all of you for joining me in this practice. You all make it very special. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed that. You don't have to thank me. Thank you. Take care, my beautiful friends.
Thank you, Vinu.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Have a beautiful
Thank
week.
you, everybody. Nice seeing you all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Thank you.